Hey guys, and welcome back to Nomifactory. Last time we unlocked our vacuum freezer and set up 3 more blast furnaces for titanium, nichrome and canthal. We also worked to passive some basic alloys, and secured a source of rocket fuel, which hopefully we can get to use today. Between episodes, I've set up one more array here for compressors. These are all HV. This will become evident why we need these later on. And I also added machines for pulsating iron, pulsating crystals, and quantum flux, which we'll need today for microminers. So yeah, the microminers. Our goal for today is to get into the Microverse and launch our first microminer mission. Perhaps even get to the tier 2 as well, although that might be a little bit ambitious. However, we have a bit of a checklist we need to catch up on. First of all, we are going to buy some palladium ore, prioritize this through our ore processing system, and I'm going to switch out the blast furnace, which is supposed to be doing silicon bulls. I think it's this one here. And instead we'll switch this out to doing palladium. Okay, item number 1 is completed. Easy. We need oil though. So I noticed here that our oil drilling rig has now stopped. This obviously is an issue, as if we don't have oil we can't distill it, and therefore we don't get the byproducts out of this. And it seems the reason for the stoppage is we have run out of mining pipe. So we are going to add an extruder here to make small steel pipes, which will definitely get a downgrade on the drawer. However, we do need to shapeless craft these into the inspirations pipes, which is the only version this oil rig can use. So we are just going to simply add a crafter here and an interface. Request a small steel pipe. And set the recipe in the crafter. Nice, that should get this thing going again. Awesome. Alright, that's the second item off the list for today. 2 more to go. And these are the biggest tasks. So the first one being circuit boards. So in order to get the first Microverse Projector and launch our microminer missions, there are a lot of dusts and things we have to passive, all of which I would like to do at HV. Although we do only have 39 microprocessors left, the circuits that we need for the HV machines, and we currently don't have any way to automatically produce circuit boards. The circuit boards are going to be used all the way throughout the game, so it's definitely something that we'll want to have passively stocked. So we need to come up with a system which will automatically create all of these boards for us, all of which being in chemical reactors with sulfuric acid, I believe, along with some sort of added foil in here. And we need to make sure that we can do this with the remaining resources that we have. I'm currently making up some manual epoxy boards. I have a feeling the 48 HV circuits is not going to be enough for all of the machines, but we do at least have an assembler to auto-craft these. I saw a couple of you guys commenting that we can make machine hulls, I think at every tier, a bit more efficiently than we currently are. I think I brought up the fact that we need wrought iron for these machine hulls, and there is actually an assembler recipe with polyethylene, so we are definitely going to switch to this recipe. It saves a few plates for each time we make a machine. Oh, it looks like it's not applicable here for LV though. But for some reason ULV can be? I don't know how that makes sense. Alright, enough filling around, let's make circuit boards. And the machine list is going to be as follows. 4 HV chemical reactors, a fluid extractor, and a solidifier. How long before we can't press the start button? Let's see. An HV autoclave, 2 compressors, we're still going, 2 cluster mills. Oh my goodness, this is all crafting so fast. I love it. And I think the last machine is a chemical bath. Oh, we run out of conveyors. Wait, how did we not have the conveyor module recipe yet? I guess we were just surviving on batch crafted materials. Alright, we got our machines ready. Let's assemble. So if it wasn't already obvious, we are doing all of the circuit boards, besides the wetware and coated. Wetware isn't till IV, and coated boards we don't need at this point in the game. It makes sense to start with the plastic since that's the first tier. This is going to either take polyethylene sheets or polyvinyl chloride sheets. 2 things we are already automatically producing, but since the PVC sheets give a slightly better yield, we'll use that one. Okay, we got our first chemical reactor set up with the polyvinyl chloride and sulfuric acid. We are going to have to automatically produce copper foil though, which comes from copper plates, which comes from copper ingots. So that's where our compressor and cluster mill is going to come into play. Alright, we'll give both of these things their own drawer, for now with downgrades until we figure out what the situation is here. I don't want to use all of our copper for this yet. However, we have now successfully automated plastic circuit boards. Give it a drawer, without the downgrade, we'll buffer 2,000 of these. Alright, that's 1 of 4 out of the way. The next one is going to be epoxy, which does require epoxied sheets, and right now we're only making the fluid epoxy. And this is where the solidifier comes into play. Wait, did I not craft that machine? Oh, I missed one. I missed the machine here. Wait, no, I did craft it. It was it was in my inventory the whole time. Oh, and we are out of steel rotors for more pumps. You know what? I totally meant to do this. Watch. we can totally add a fluid extractor solidifier combination, as the most resource efficient way to make rotors is actually in the fluid solidifier. It takes it from whatever this mess is with, with the GregTech tools to just requiring 4 ingots, and then we send this through the fluid solidifier. Although this will have to be a larger interface so that we can extract from the solidifier. We'll need the rotor mold, which I think I left in here. And we have to be careful when setting the recipe for these things. It's going to be 4 steel ingots equals 1 steel rotor. And problem solved. Oh, that was totally meant to happen right there. Well, that was fun. I enjoyed that a lot. There is a couple of things that we should know about this system though. First of which being the buffer sizes. So right now all of the circuit boards are on unlocked or just default drawers, which will hold 2000 items by default. And I've limited all the plates and foils just to 1 stack, although that will probably be increased. The other thing is we are not getting epoxy resin quick enough, and epoxy resin is actually split 2 ways here. So we solidify it into sheets here for epoxid sheets. Those are used in the epoxy circuit boards here, which is again just more copper foil and sulfuric acid. And the other half of the epoxy gets sent to this chemical bath where it's mixed with raw carbon fibers. This is made in an autoclave with carbon and palladium, the palladium that we get out of the blast furnace over there. It's probably unnecessary to have a full blast furnace for palladium, as the recipe for raw carbon fiber is 1 millibucket of palladium for 2 of these things, and then it's 1-to-1 with fiber reinforced epoxy resin, although we do need them later on for nano CPUs. But yeah, the small amount of palladium that we have is going to go a very, very long way for these carbon fibers. But yeah, after we reinforce them with palladium and carbon fiber, that is used in the green boards, which is again just more copper foil. However, the green boards are then used in the multi-layer boards. So I think we're going to have to add some extra logic to not overproduce these ones. If you guys are going to do this, make sure you leave space for a level emitter here. You know what, I think we can slightly cheese this though. If we spin this machine around, like this, that should allow us to put a machine controller here, and a level emitter here. You can't level emit the front of the machines, as far as I know. At least that never used to be the case. So we want the brown boards to only be produced if we have enough green boards. Therefore, we're going to invert this machine controller to only be active with a signal. And this will emit when levels are above, we'll say like 512. I have no idea the number we want. So if we have more than 512 green boards, then the brown boards will be produced. Otherwise, it's going to wait until that condition is true. And then there is also electrum foil, which goes in this one. We are currently not making electrum anywhere, and electrum is just gold and silver. So we are just going to add another alloy smelter here, limited item filtered for both of those ingots. And we should be making electrum. Nice. I think we'll limit this to 4 stacks though. And actually, that reminds me, we should maybe increase the buffer here for raw iron. I took the storage downgrades off of this, so we're keeping a full drawer of this. Similarly for steel, I think we may add 1 more upgrade for dark steel. So that's 8 stacks of dark steel we'll keep. And the rest I think is fine as is for now. Oh wow, we're already up to 2000 tungstate, that's amazing. That's going to be nice for when we start EV. But yeah, if I'm not wrong, I think I already added electrum and copper to this interface. No, this one here. Another thing to mention here is when we are filtering or asking for things for the machines, instead of extracting from the drawers, I normally like to extract from the AE system. And that way it just keeps the drives nice and clean. It means that any electrum, for example, that's in the drives, will be taken from here first, and we don't clog up drives with electrum unnecessarily, especially when we have the storage drawer over there for primary storage. But yeah, mission number 3 for today is completed. And we can take down our little sign here. Progress. I like it. Okay, so micro miners is our next mission. Literally, our next mission. So this mission is going to start with the Microverse Projector. Most of the casings for this do take microversium. However, we do have that on passive since the end of last episode. I think the bottleneck here is this centrifuge for deuterium. But as you can see by our new storage monitors here, we're at 138 microversium. I'm hoping that's going to be near enough the amount that we need. I'm going to be really sad if we're short microversium. Anyways, the other thing we need is a quantum compressor. This is going to take elite catalysts and elite components, and that is all the way over here in this quest chapter, which means that we need black steel and luminescence. Before I started this episode, I did buy a bunch of apatite, which I don't know how far it's made through yet. It looks like not very far is the answer. At least it's processing it though. So yeah, we have a small amount of apatite dust. Oh, along with some more palladium actually. So we're going to start here with the luminescence. The apatite dust I have asked for in this interface. Filter into the chemical reactor. And we are also going to combine this with sulfuric acid. There's quite the strain on sulfuric acid at the moment, considering all the circuit boards also use this. And we can also give this water from a reservoir below. So this is going to output gypsum dust, hydrochloric acid, and phosphoric acid. It's the phosphoric acid that we're after here. And there's actually 3 valid options that you can go for this. We could also use some phosphorus dust with oxygen and water. However, phosphorus I know later on that we do need for indium gallium phosphide, and that's used in some of the higher tier circuit wafers. So for now we'll rely on the apatite and sulfuric acid, which we're going to actually be getting apatite out of the first microminer. So the hydrochloric acid we'll store it in a quantum tank, I think. The gypsum will get its own drawer. We'll make sure to put a void upgrade on this though, and why not max storage upgrades. Not that we actually need gypsum for anything, if I remember right. But yeah, the phosphoric acid we then want to chemical react into luminescence. So we just want a limited item filter for aluminium dust and energetic blend. We should be producing this. It's already been made for energetic alloy over here, and it's also used in somewhere else. I forget exactly where we use this, but we do have a storage bus on this basic mixer. We'll see if it's able to keep up, I guess. If not, we'll add another mixer here. So yeah, I think we'll build in a little buffer. 2 pumps on the tank just to pass it through. And we're making luminescence. Awesome. Although we do need a bucket for the quest. Let's soft mallet this for a second. Yeah, it seems that the sulfuric acid is just too slow right now. It's probably going to catch up. But still, I don't think it's a bad idea for us to upgrade this chemical reactor. Is it this one? Yeah, sulfur plus water. We'll take this from MV. And we'll upgrade to HV. I know I just voided a recipe worth, but it's okay. It's only sulfur dust. We might as well fluid storage bus the hydrochloric acid. Pick up the phosphoric for the quest. And the luminescence will get its own drawer. Alright, step 1 is completed. Now we need black steel. And black steel, if I remember right, is a... yeah. So, steel dust, void crystals, red coal. Plus black bronze, which is copper dust, silver dust, gold dust. Here we go with the alloys. Oh, and it looks like this is the stage where we finally ran out of HV circuits. Not to worry, we should have all the infrastructure in place to make more. Alright, let's start with the black bronze. So the copper, the silver, and the gold we make as ingots out of the loot fabricators from DML. We just need 3 macerators to turn them into dust so that we can craft with them. And a 4th one also for steel dust. So copper, silver, I think it might need some extract speeds on the conduit here. Yeah, gold, and steel dust. Trim to connect the drawer controller. Alright, so we got all the dust together. We need to make black bronze, which we can either make in a crafter or in a mixer. I'm thinking that we do the crafter though, just to save power. Kind of anticipating that we'll have to add some more numies soon. But yeah, we filter the dust in the interface, and we should have black bronze here. Yes, nice. Trim to connect them up, and another drawer for storage. And can we use black bronze for anything? I guess it is a blast furnace recipe. I don't recall if we need the ingots or not for anything though. I guess for now we'll store 4 stacks. And I think the last step is our mixer to put the black steel together. This does take red coal and void crystals. The void crystals we have on passive over here since last episode. And the red coal we've had set up in this resonator here. 3000 is not as much as I expected to see. Maybe we need to invest in speed upgrades for these. We'll see, but we need a mixer for this anyway. And we have our black steel dust. Downgrade the drawer. Actually, let's store 4 stacks again. 4 stacks is a good starting point for most things. Alright, let's check our quest here. So we want the elite catalysts, I guess. This isn't as difficult as I remember. Okay. We do need black steel plates though, that's right. So that means we need a blast furnace for black steel, since we're only making the dusts right here. So this will be an HV blast furnace, and I decided actually to put the circuit boards next to these ones. The original plan was to line up all of the HV blast furnaces along here, but it seems that that is no longer possible. I'm not tearing out all of this. So we're going to instead put it on this side, making sure to leave some space for the Microverse Projector. So I think we'll put it around here. Yeah, and the HV blast furnaces will go this way for quite a ways. You know, it's a good job that we passive nichrome. So nichrome coils are absolutely not required for this blast furnace, but we're gonna do it anyway. Unlike in GT New Horizons and some other packs with GregTech, we do not get the coil EU discount. Well, it's already started here. The coil level only allows you to smelt higher tier materials, but since we want to wall shear all of these, I think all of them are going to be nichrome all along here. But yeah, we got the level emitter set to 512. I have no idea if this is going to be sufficient or not, but we should be making black steel at a reasonable rate here, since this is only an MV recipe, and it's 10 seconds at MV, and so at HV, it's actually going to be 3.6 seconds. The reason it's 3.6 is any recipes you run over 16 EU per tick, this one is 120, will give you a 2.8x decrease on the recipe, and that is per tier, whereas anything below 16 EU per tick is only twice as fast per tier, up to a maximum of a 1 tick recipe. At which point, it actually increases the EU without actually decreasing the machine speed. So you do have to be a little bit careful in what you're doing. Anyways, back to our mission at hand here. So we need the recipe for the Elite Catalyst. Black steel plates will also need the recipe for this. We need the cutting recipe and also the block recipe. There is also ender pearl plates here. I think we can make this, yeah, just from ender pearls. We need the block and the plate recipe again. We can make our elite component, and if I remember correctly, these are used in the catalysts, amongst other things, but then the catalysts we make into the quantum compressor, and this is what we need for our Microverse Projector. So do we need any other recipes? It doesn't look like it, it's just 4 components and a black steel plate equals a catalyst. And our quest. And the quantum compressor, is this black steel as well? It is black steel, okay. And the black iron frame is more black steel. Nothing we can't autocraft though at this point. This is also where we need our microversium. We need to make the projector casings, which we can do in the assembler 4:1. And I believe it's 20 that we need. Let's see if we have enough. Oh, it's only 80. Yeah, I guess that makes a lot of sense. And we're left with 105, 106. Is there anything else here that's going to give us any trouble? It doesn't look like it, right? Nope. After some crafting, we got our Microverse Projector. So we did leave a space for this thing. And we're going to be doing the same setup that we had in the last playthrough. It does involve a crafting card. You guys know how I feel about crafting cards. Do not ever use crafting cards. Except for this one purpose right here. Is this controller on the bottom? It looks like it, okay. Yeah, so quantum compressor in the middle. We'll put the fluid input hatch on this side. I think it can be on any side. Any casing block. We'll do input and output bus on the same side. Energy hatch on the back. And the rest is just casings in glass. Okay, is this a valid multi-block? Yes, it is. Awesome. So obviously we're running this thing at HV. We have the HV output bus since we get quite a lot of output from the microminer mission. So the inputs for this is going to be our rocket fuel. We have that buffered over here. We have a fluid storage bus on the side. And also depending on which mission we want to run, I think right now we can only do this one since this takes gemstone sensors. And this one here is dense hydrogen, and there's no way we're making dense hydrogen right now. Plus we don't actually need to run that mission. But yeah, I mentioned at the start of the episode, I also added quantum flux, which is just DML matter plus pulsating crystals, which we have here, which really just leaves the microminer itself. Again, having a look at through these recipes, it really doesn't look too bad. It's just some basic stuff, all of which we should be able to create. This is an alloy smelter recipe. We have an array for this. So I've been busy encoding some recipes. I had to upgrade our tower over there for crafting. However, I think the only thing we're missing for this microminer is actually going to be these steel heavy platings, which must be made in a compressor. We can't do this in the cutting saw like we do with all the rest of the plates. And so that is the reason I added these compressors. I mentioned at the start of the episode. And I deliberately made them HV since we need HV for the tier 2. We can add the steel heavy plating recipe, which is 2:1. We'll do it 64 at a time. Or 32 at a time, I guess. And we can now craft our tier 1 microminer. Actually relatively cheap, all things considered. The first of many. We're going to be launching hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of these things. So to help with launching the missions, obviously we don't want to come over here every time we want a microminer mission to run, and manually put in the rocket fuel and the input items, take them out from the output bus. No. That's way too manual. However, we also don't want to just fully passive the microminers. That's something that's just not feasible at this stage in the game. Plus, we would have no way to actually deal with all of these ores that we'd be getting. So passive is not really worth it at this point. Actually, I'm going to switch the position of this. Yeah, input we put on this side and output we'll put on here. So yeah, we'll start with the easy part. We can just put a fluid interface next to the input hatch. Request rocket fuel. Oh, I guess that's the wrong type of rocket fuel. You want the GregTech version. So to handle the items, since we're doing this on demand, we are going to place an interface here. This is what's going to contain the pattern. We'll put another one here on the output bus, just so that everything is ingested into our AE system, and also plug all of these in. So in terms of what the pattern is going to look like, since we can't just shift click all of these items in here, it might be possible with the extended crafting terminal, but I think honestly it's still better to do it the old way, so we need an output item for this to specify which microminer mission we want to run, since there is more than one tier 1. I'm just going to pick a piece of paper. You can literally pick any item for this. And we are going to rename this so that we know what we're requesting in the terminal. Microminer tier 1, and we'll specify this is the ores mission. That's going to go in the output of the recipe, and we'll encode this one. And we'll need this piece of paper. So the pattern is going to go in this interface here. Then we are going to place an export bus on this interface, and this is going to export this piece of paper from our system. Remember, the export bus will pull from the AE system, and it's going to push its contents into this interface, which basically just cycles it back in. However, this we want to put a redstone card in, and this is going to be active with a signal, so that it will only try to export this piece of paper with a redstone signal. And we're going to give it a redstone signal with a level emitter. That's the wrong way. We want the level emitter pointing down to this export bus, like so. This is where we use the crafting card. So the crafting card is going to be set to this piece of paper. And what this does is it will emit a redstone signal whenever we request this piece of paper, which is effectively like we're requesting the microminer. That's going to send the redstone signal to the export bus, allowing it to pull this piece of paper from our system and then immediately back into the system. And that will effectively clear the crafting screen, since it expects to find that as the output of the craft. And we just want to make sure this level emitter is emit a redstone signal while item is crafting. That's the setting we want on this. Oh yeah, we also need to plug in the interface, since the export bus doesn't give a channel through. So now we can come over to the terminal, request this piece of paper. It's going to put the quantum flux, the microminer, and the chest in the input bus, and it should cycle this piece of paper through to clear the craft. Let's find out. Oh, it's running, awesome. So we should get the output ores in this output bus any second now. Yes, there they are. It was quick, but and it does take a while for the recipe to run. But the crafting screen should be empty, correct? Yes, awesome. And if we search for ores, we should see the output of this microminer. We get dense iron, cassiterite, redstone, nickel, rutile. Nickel is actually useful since we use that in quite a lot of places. We get moon turf, we get salt. Oh man, this is awesome. So obviously we don't have a way to process ores yet. We're still using this thing, which is very, very... It's just laughable how slow this thing is. But yeah, at some point, probably either IV or LUV will rebuild the ore processing system. But we do also get rutile out of this, and rutile, remember, is used for titanium. Before we were electrolyzing bauxite for titanium, which didn't give us a whole lot. And in fact, this system appears to have stopped here. Yeah, it only gave us 26 titanium, which is horrible. Yeah, we're out of rutile is what the problem is here. Let's actually put all this rutile through the ore processing system. As slow as it's going to be, maybe it's worth just smelting it, I'm not sure. Anyways, with that, I think it's also a good point to wrap up this episode. There won't be an episode tomorrow. As you're probably able to tell with the upload frequency, I've been going a bit crazy on this game, and I need to catch up on a few things, so I'm going to take tomorrow off. But we'll be back, and until then, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all soon for some more Nomifactory.